This is the oldest barn we have. My father's grandfather built this barn when he was a young man. This barn was built before my father was born. We did some restoration work on the back side of the doors and the siding when I was a small boy, about Christopher's size. I vaguely remember we had to bring a generator because there's no electricity or running water down here. But if you don't mind drinking out of the creek, you get all the water you need. One of the unique features of this barn is this wall. Having only a small dozer to do the site prep, they decided to terrace the barn. So this driveway that we're in is at a lower elevation than that driveway up there. And this rock wall serves as a retainer, and all they did was pick up rocks out of the creek, and I'm going to guess they used some kind of stonemason's hammer to make that side of them straight. And the other thing that does that keeps the wood up off the dirt. Anytime you got wood touching dirt, it's going to rot. But you'll notice we've jacked this side of the barn up and put it on cinder blocks, and we're probably going to have to do the same to the other side of the barn in the near future. Let's go out back. Because of the proximity of this barn to this creek, there is a fog in this valley nearly every morning. And what that does is that causes the tobacco to come in case, and then in the heat of the afternoon it dries back out. And as a result, the highest quality burley we produce comes out of this old barn. This barn also has a lot of ventilation. You'll see how the roof for the center driveway is raised above the roof for the sheds. There's an air gap of about 2 feet up there. This posed a problem though when we had a real heavy wet snow and it collapsed that center roof. And we came down here with high lift jacks and long pieces of pipe, and we jacked it back up, and then we put a series of cables and turnbuckles up in there, and that's what's holding her together. This tobacco was warm. It had been sitting on the wagon overnight, but it has already become cool to the touch. But the design of this barn promotes that air to flow up. Can we pull up? See a lot of round poles in this barn. Homegrown timbers, even some of the posts, or all of the posts for that matter, homegrown timber. I would imagine after his service in World War I that my great-grandfather didn't have a whole lot of cash, but he had land and it had timber on it, so he was able to build a barn out of that. And then I think they took some of that to a sawmill to get lumber for the siding. And then you'll notice there's metal on the exterior. That metal was added sometime in the 60s. as a protective barrier for that wood that's out there. And the end of the barn up here where it didn't receive that protective barrier, that siding is what we replaced in the mid-80s. Have you found the cables yet, Salam?
Yeah.
There's one right there.
I see them right there.
What happened is that snow load forced that center roof not only flat, but it actually made it concave. And the water from the melting snow was dripping in the center of the barn. We used several high lift jacks and a long piece of steel pipe on each one, and we jacked that back up where it's supposed to be, and then we pulled it together with those cables. And you're also going to see some 2x6s and 2x4s up there that don't look like they belong. That's where we did the repair. So rather than demolish this piece of our heritage, we decided to refurbish this piece of our heritage and keep it.
The name of this barn is?
The Creek Barn. That's what we've always called it. That's what my dad called it. He said that's what his granddad called it. Because you got to remember, the original farm is the bunkhouse, the cow barn, this barn, and the barn where the combines are, minus the 2 big sheds that we've added recently. Want to back up? Otro mano, sí. When we have to fill these sheds, it's a little less efficient, and it makes a big difference if you've got an extra person to help make up that distance. So in this situation, we could use 7 people. Well, there were 6 here, and I was just standing there. Uh-oh. ¿Saca? ¿Con tanta fuerza? ¿Sí lo sobraba? When you hear wood cracking, it's not a good sound to hear. I was glad to see that it was a stick that broke and not one of the barn members.
One of these tobacco sticks.
He turned it in there on an angle, hung it on the last stick. For some reason, that's been called Webster. I don't know why. When I was a boy and learning how to hang tobacco, I'd tell them I had a short stick and they'd say Webster it. We drop the sticks from the high boy. We have a tendency to get more sticks out there than we need. So when we pick up the tobacco in the field, we bring the empty sticks with us. We try in the evening to load all of our wagons. We've been starting at 6 o'clock. Load up all of our wagons so that for the first half of the next day we've got work to do that doesn't involve wet tobacco. some of our guys became ill working in that wet tobacco up at Wheeler's. They got that nicotine in their system and it overloaded their system, and it causes vomiting, which leads to dehydration, and it's already hot and you're sweating your butt off, so it all compounds to make you the sickest you've ever been in your life. And you won't die from it, but you have to take a couple of days off to rehydrate and recuperate. So we decided to work smarter. We started loading our wagons in the evening, and it takes us a half a day or better to get them all empty. And you felt that heat right there. That's sort of the clock is ticking. But once you get it all hung up in this barn, just like laundry, you get it all hung out where it can dry. So a little bit of that heating right there really doesn't hurt anything. It actually helps it lay good in the barn because it's ironed it flat. You see how flat these sticks are we're handing up? They're not all poofy and all bulged out. ¿Afuera? Sí. Tráelo, por favor.
Voy a hacerlo para allá.
4, aquí, 2 y media.
Sálgase por un lado, agárralo por un lado.
Dos cortos.
Good stuff. Deck screws.
We use
Coated deck screws.
4-inch, and then in the middle where that little thin board is, we use 2-inch.
Those ain't gonna rust.
No, they'll probably be there longer than the timber that they're holding. Largo?
No, largo.
Tango.
A ver, si llega bien ahí.
Make a mark.
Esa tabla sí lo alcanza a agarrar bien.
Escriben.
¿Dónde? No lo va a agarrar ya.
Posiblemente uno todo por este lado. Así de que por acá.
No, es que ahí no va.
It's too long.
Es que por aquí va. Por ahí va. Levanta una tuya. Ay, está arriba, esa es la que me quedó el güey ahí. Ahí arriba.
Now, watch the flow of burley. 3 years ago, when we requested 6 men, this is what we had in mind, right here. You see how there's 6 men and everybody has a job to do.
Yeah.
I already knew that when we did the sheds, we needed 7. But we usually have somebody helping us outside of this crew. This year we do not.
Like a local.
Right.
Mike could be Little Man Smokey at one point.
Exactly. So he could run that over in that shed, and then now he would keep up with the empty sticks and the split outs. I don't know, have you seen a split out yet? We were getting a bunch of them, now we're getting none. When the cutter spears too close to the end of the stalk, it splits all the way out. So when you pick that stick up, that one falls off. And that's just a nuisance more than anything. And it has to be redone. In the past, we have just tossed them up on top, but if you get too many of them up there, it restricts the airflow. So it's better to go ahead and spear that on a stick and hang it like it's supposed to. I would say from your vantage point right now, you have a good look at the spacing between the sticks, and you have a good look at that porous siding on the barn that allows air to come in, but it also protects the tobacco from harsh weather. Looks like the new tier's working out good up there. See? That little thin board in the middle is called the upright. And that upright helps the tiers share the load. So that if you've got one tier that's sagging a little more than the other, it helps transfer some of that load. And when we house in the driveway of these barns, you'll start facing the shed and you'll work with your posterior facing the center and keep backing up until you get to the upright. And the first team to the upright moves to the next tier and the other team fills on out. So we're going to have to communicate that a little better on this next run. Yeah. For a good number of years we've used trailers to house this barn because when you hang that bottom tier, the tips hang down to here. But now we've got these wagons with the folding tailgates so that we can pull in, offload, fold the tailgate down on the empty wagon and pull out the other end. It's much more efficient and a lot easier. Saved us a bunch of time. Luciano got up there in that barn and he got them straightened out. Now it looks nice what they've done. We really can't afford to not hang much of this barn. We need all the space we have. We need to utilize all of our available space. The thing about it is when you put tobacco on a stick and you put it in one of these barns, unless this barn collapses completely, that tobacco is almost guaranteed going to be good to go when it comes time to strip. We had the machine that harvested and we hung it outside, but the weather would destroy it 7 years out of 10. So putting it in this barn is a safer bet. So we want all of our tobacco in the barn.
Now, what's your planning with the cable hoist barn? You moving up to that next, or?
We've got one more field to do, and it's out there at the end of the road. We'll put the sticks in it Monday morning. I would imagine by 10 o'clock on Monday morning we'll be cutting, and it will take Monday and Tuesday to cut it. And starting on Wednesday, we'll haul part of it to the barn at the top of the hill up here behind the bunkhouse, and then the balance of it will go in the barn up there at the head of the road. But we're saving that barn for last because what we've been doing is we've been loading up all of our wagons and pulling them in that barn, and it has rained twice. But we had our wagons loaded sitting inside the barn, so the next day we were able to proceed as usual. The rain didn't stop us.
Now you got cut tobacco bin there. How long has that been there?
There's 13 stick rows that are out there right now. My plan, when they get this wagon empty, is to go snatch 2, maybe 3 more rows of it and fill this barn up. And then we'll go back up there this evening and load the rest of it. And it has to go in the cow barn, which is the barn at the top of the hill here. So that's what my dad was talking about. He's going to have to take the bobcat and muck that out because he fed out the steers in there. That's why it's called the cow barn. It's where we feed out the steers. That's where the cows come to feed in the wintertime. So he's got to muck that barn out because you don't want to hang the tobacco over top of the cow manure.
And then what do he mucks it out and throws hay down?
Lime.
Lime.
Muck that out and then put down some powdered lime. And I think there's a small pile of it. I hope there's a small pile of it up there.
I think so.
Ordinarily, we would muck it out a week or two in advance and just let it dry up.
I think I might hear Pops now.
He's going to come back and get this other string of wagons, and when he does, that's going to leave us with 1 tractor and 2 wagons. So everybody and everything will go on them 2 wagons and out of here. But I'm probably going to leave the drill, the screws, and the chainsaw until we finish, because you never know when you might have to do a hasty repair. See a timber right here that's not natural? That was a repair that we did last year. Look over here. See the screws? Mm-hmm. That tells me that it's been done recently.
check, rain check. Maybe we should go to the barn and...
Welcome to Kentucky. If you don't like the weather, stick around 15 minutes, it'll change. We came up here with the intention of loading 2 wagons and go back and fill that barn out, but as we were loading the first 2 wagons, I noticed the horizon was getting darker and darker, and so I pulled up a weather app on my smartphone and looked at the radar, and it looked like we had just about an hour before the rain got here. So we made the executive decision to load as many wagons and trailers as we could before it rained. Luckily, we got this barn right here beside the field, so if you pan down through this aisleway here, you're going to see nothing but loads of tobacco from one end to the other. And we didn't get all of it out of the field, but we got most of it.
Oh, you got 4 trailers full here.
We've got 4 wagons and 2 trailers. We got 6 loads in here. And I'm gonna estimate there's about 300 sticks on load, so we probably got about another 1,800 sticks up out of the field before it rained. I think we got about 600 rained on, but handling that wet tobacco is what'll make you sick. So we'll leave that out there till it dries out. In the next field, or the last two fields that we sprayed with the sucker dope and didn't have any insecticide in it, but I noticed that we had a worm problem when we started harvesting up at Wheelers. So from that point forward, I put some bug dope in there with the sucker.
What kind of worms are we talking about?
These are tobacco hornworms. And the problem is they'll continue to eat tobacco. They don't care that it's not in the field anymore. They'll continue to eat it in the barn as long as it's green. But as soon as it goes from green to yellow, you'll see them, they'll be dropping. They'll be all over the floor.
Then it becomes toxic for them.
But they have already eaten whatever they've eaten. 5 o'clock.